episode of The Jump with Kieran McDonald, again under the Beyond the Snap Media umbrella. And today we are going to talk about some factors, specifically 5, that separate the great from the champions. And this is 5 factors, 5 aspects that you're going to need if your team wants to win the national championship in 2024 and this new 12-team playoff era. So first, we're going to get right into it. Not going to bury the lead here. Depth. That is our first factor. So, in case you haven't noticed, we've gone to a 12-team playoff format, and potentially the national champion could play 17 games this year. And as we all know, football is a very physical game, it's a very demanding game, and it's a game that has, frankly, a lot of injuries. So, in those 17 games, it is likely that at some point, your starters, or some combination thereof, some of them, maybe not all of them, will be down for at least part of a game, if not all of a game. And to consistently win, therefore, you must have a good second string, a good third string, and sometimes even a good fourth string to back up that starting player at that position. This is really key for a lot of teams and any team that wants to make a run. That's what's going to separate your very talented teams from your very good teams. The fact that they're just not talented on one level. They've got multiple levels of talent. They've got, 100 good players that are ready to go out there and ready to play, and they're all ready to play and they're all ready to go. Especially at positions like quarterback, cornerback, linebacker, and then obviously your receivers and your running back. And then obviously the kind of sleeper position here is O-line, right? That can really wreak havoc on a game if you've got your center out or a tackle out, right? Or if your center's not snapping well, as we saw in the Rose Bowl. So the second factor, and this may be one that you guys thought wasn't going to show up or seems unlikely to you, but this factor is a leadership-based culture. That is one of the most important, if not the most important factor here, aside from depth, is that you have to have a leadership-based culture, like Michigan does, like we're looking from the Wolverines. They have a leadership-based culture. The players lead, the coaches don't. They lead, they guide, but they don't necessarily lead, right? It's a player-led team. You've got big-time seniors, big-time juniors, and even some big-time sophomores, some people who have veteran experience that are leading, and even people who don't have that much veteran experience, they're still willing to step up and lead, and everyone takes accountability, and they're all accountable for each other's actions, and accountable for their own actions, and getting that work in, and getting better, and developing, and understanding that they must acknowledge when they make a mistake on the field. And that leadership-based culture that we saw at Michigan, thinking other people, right? It's not all about you. There's 22 people that start on a football team, right? Blake Corum thinking his O-line, right? J.J. McCarthy thinking the O-line. Mikey Sanders still thinking his O-line for the plays he's made. All these different players that are very big star players in their own right, thanking other players and thanking the team for being able to help them make those plays and just being willing to contribute to a team, and that team kind of mindset is the most important, the factor that results in this leadership-based culture that I've been talking about. Now, the third factor is it's got to be top-notch facilities. And this is because, right, this long, grueling season, right, that ice bath, right, that good training room, that good acupuncture, that massage, that stretching routine, what you're eating, you're sleeping, all of that is going to make the difference in that, that maybe like that 2% of condition, right? Like, they're at 75% and you're at 80%, and that's how you win. You just have that little bit more in the tank from having those top-notch facilities, having those good practice facilities, and specifically here, recovery facilities, to be able to recover and get everything that you need to fuel the whole team and to precipitate the fact that, maybe injuries don't go on as long because of these facilities. Maybe every player is bought into recovery, right? Every player is there and all of that, and that just creates this ability to withstand the schedule, which is, again, I think is the most important concept, that you have to withstand more playoff games than you had to, and it's almost an NFL schedule, kind of, right, with a 17 games. You have to withstand that many games, and you have to win, largely, probably, if you're going to win the championship, all but maybe 1 or 2, right? I think it would be unlikely that we'd see an undefeated champion, but you have to be ready to go every week, and that's why you're going to need those top-notch facilities. Now, at 4, and this is, I think, a factor that we saw in Texas, and their issues with Washington and obviously ending up losing that game. And additionally, another, Washington with Michigan, I think, is that their coaching staff have to be ready for the big moments, right? The coaching staff has to expect, and that has to be the expectation that they're there, right? As it was on Michigan this year. It doesn't need to be a surprise, right? I thought that Sark is a great coach, right? Sark and the whole Texas staff is great, but I don't think they were able to game plan as well as they should have, right? And to me, that and also what we saw in the national championship just shows that the team that is more prepared and has a better and more sound, just fundamental X's and O's, right? If your plan is to harass Michael Penix and then use your secondary to just shut him down by mixing and matching coverages and not giving the same defensive look twice, right? You've got a better plan, and therefore you're going to have an edge, right? And that's that little edge that makes those difference in that 1 or 2 games and that 3-point swing, right? It's not going to cover up a lack of talent, but it will allow you to deploy your talent as best as possible to win those games. And coaching staff has to be ready for that, and also the players have to be ready for the big moments, right? If the coaching staff isn't ready and they don't plan well, then it's not going to go well. But if the players aren't ready, then it's going to go even worse, right? There's nothing there. There's going to be really no substance, and you're going to have huge, huge problems. Now, the fifth factor, which I think is the most important, is consistency. So, to me, this just means not even necessarily in games. I mean, in-game performance too, but in out-of-game, right? In the several hundred practices, the probably, almost half 1,000 lifting sessions that you're going to go through in a season, the amount of meetings, and everything else. If you're consistently and your team is consistently showing up and getting them to do that, and again that ties back into culture. But if your team is consistently showing up, consistently putting in that work, and then that's going to translate to consistency on the football field. And the concept of consistency and identity has been one that's been very important, especially for our latest champion, Michigan. Being able to be consistent and being able to run the football, and being able to be consistent and getting that work in, and just being consistent all around in all aspects of playing the game. So I just wanted to run down, the factors that are going to decide your national champion next year. That's what you should look for. I know that the high-flying transfers and the talent are big, but there's still going to be a group of teams that are all very similarly talented. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Georgia, right? They've got, there's some differences between the rosters, but they're very close. And to me, these 5 things, these 5 factors, is going to be what changes, what makes Texas a champion, or what makes Georgia the champion, and who does it best. So I think it's going to be a great season. Tune in to all of our content. Please like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comment section. Y'all been doing a great job of that in some of these videos. And yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and that's another episode of The Jump.